All right. Welcome, everybody, to the NWO show, your source for everything New World. We have a pretty awesome show planned for today. We've got a lot of new news. Another patch for June has come out with some pretty substantial changes to how New World operates, as well as we're gonna talk about some other stuff today too, because there's plenty to talk about. I'm, of course, joined by my co host, McLeod,
What up?
and we are pumped to be here. So,
Oh yeah.
thank you for the follow right off the getting follows. Our
Oh
kind of
yeah.
stream.
That's how we like.
Yeah.
What we like.
Uh, all right. So, first and foremost, I want to cover something that I am completely unprepared to cover, but I'm going to cover it because this came up today, and I want to clarify a couple of things because it was corrected in public later on. When the patch notes launched, the very last paragraph actually had a different set of words in it. So,
Oh, that. Right, yeah.
this was how the last paragraph read. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have any of the craziness that is, um, just generally understanding how these things kind of work. But this was changed and later omitted completely the open beta. Now, here's what I think happened. I think somebody went, "Hey, we need to mention the beta." Was really tired from typing the rest of the notes and went, "Oh, hey, well, maybe I should mention the beta." Or they could have released something that they didn't want to release yet. We don't know. But what we do know is
Yeah.
that they did clarify this later in the day on Twitter. The state, of course, it zoomed all the way out. No, the closed beta would be the last testing phase prior to the official release on August 31st, 2021. So, uh, I feel like that closes that out as a typo. And for the 30 people that saw that before that change was made, uh, you know, we
So
I here's the thing. I think it would have been a great idea for them to go, "Hey, we've got this closed beta. We're gonna give it to anybody who pre-orders," and then like down the road, I think it would actually be a really good idea if they had an open beta. Like, what could
yeah,
go
yeah.
wrong?
I was kind of wondering, because there's they have a lot of staff, right? They have a lot of staff there to deal with various different things, to write up. Like I don't know who, writes up the not, the updates and stuff like that. Like obviously they're kind of to a degree proofread. A lot of the emphasis and a lot of the attention in terms of proofreading is in the actual patch notes, to make sure that they're not like, they don't accidentally put a zero, too many zeros, or like screw something up so people kind of freak out, right?
Absolutely.
So that like, because it was basically in the last little section. um I have a feeling that potentially the proofreading kind of didn't quite get that far, or got to the end of the actual patch notes and kind of was just like, yeah, that's it. Didn't really kind of go through. And the thing is, especially when it comes to people who have been in the industry, a lot of times you have a closed beta, then you have an open beta when it comes to sort of games. Um, it could have just been, someone typing almost on autopilot, sort of, long day, all that kind of stuff, and just typing in like, oh, closed beta and then open beta. because that's the general kind of like that's the thing that generally tends to happen in when it comes to games and betas in the industry.
Well, and the other thing is these guys
But
are also
who
working multiple
knows?
games now, so
Yeah, but who knows?
that I think that's one of the unsung things that's happening in the background is that the community team for New World is also the community team, I believe, for Lost Ark. Um,
Oh, okay.
in terms of like the Amazon Studio presence, that was my impression off of the off of what I saw. I could be wrong, however, that was. If you don't know this, Discourse, not Discord, Discourse is a forum platform that you can monitor, and you can see who's marked as different levels without having access to the actual forums. So if you were not in the alpha for Lost World, effectively you could see from their outside resources that a lot of the developers that we know and love from New World were also marked as developers on the Lost Ark forums. So we couldn't see what they were saying, but fundamentally they could have been talking about something else. They could have gotten multiple things confused. The reality is, the important thing is, they did actually clarify on Twitter and state that open beta, will there be an open beta after the closed beta? No, the closed beta will be the last testing phase prior to the official August 31st. So, is there space for one? Possibly. Anybody who's got a calendar can sit there and go, there's some space in there.
Mm-hmm.
But until it is actually announced, or if it is actually announced, that'll be the only time that we can actually put in any stake to.
Yeah.
And it being put in the last sentence, and to clarify, like, these comments here, like, those comments happen at the bottom of all of this. So, like, anybody who's ever edited anything, like, this is even outside of the margin. Like, anybody who's edited
And
anything
also
would know
and,
that this is
and
the
also,
last thing they're going to look for, and they're going to be tired
yeah.
from editing everything else.
Well, also when it comes to the actual wording used, it wasn't exactly grammatically accurate either. So you could say that it wasn't proofread to some degree. It wasn't copy edited. It wasn't followed by an open beta. It was just followed by open beta.
Yep.
So there was a degree of clearly sort of sloppy grammar going on. So it clearly hadn't been proofread. I mean, let's let's kind of be real here. Like, I think both Ace and I would say that an open beta would be an awesome thing. I think it would help. Ace, clearly agrees.
100%.
But we'll see. I guess.
Now, I would also like to note that occasionally, there are interns who put something in at the last moment or send out. I'm going to pop up a small thing that happened with HBO. HBO had to send out a mass message to everyone to notify people via Twitter that, hey, if you receive one of these integration test email number ones, that unfortunately an intern sent out a unedited email by pushing a button. Unfortunately, that happens. So, and it happens to the best of them.
I would also like to add that some particular sort of island that is I think some particular island in the United States also had a missile test that happened by accident as well. Way back when.
I feel so bad for that guy. So back what McLeod's talking about. There's a Hawaii had a missile test. There's a notification system that will ping every phone in a geographically tagged area. And the difference in between testing that system in terms of like going through the motions and hitting the test button, which does not actually send a message out, and hitting the actual button is apparently right next to each other. So unfortunately, the individual in question did not realize their error for several minutes, and unfortunately also had to clarify through US Missile Command and a bunch of other things about that issue before they could rescind their mistake. Which, when you send basically an entire state there's an incoming intercontinental ballistic missile alert, that's the kind of thing you really want to retract as soon as possible. So, comical stuff, it happens. Stuff gets, pushed out that is not meant to be pushed out either, potentially early. Like, we don't know if it was something, we don't know if it's something they're planning. We don't know if it's something that they're considering. We don't know any of that. What we do know is that they clarified and said, no, that's the closed beta is the last testing phase.
Yeah.
Who knows? They've still got flexibility. They also said the game was going to come out a year and a half ago. So, clearly it's up in the air.
Knows.
But alas, that is very much a thing. I'm trying to find the actual dates.
Oh, well, we know that the official release is August 31st, but I guess you're looking for the closed beta.
The start of the closed beta is July 20th, but I don't remember what the end date was.
Yeah, because it actually doesn't go for a month.
Yeah, it doesn't go for a month. Somebody clarified this with me, and like, it's gonna bug me. Like, I just had it. I was just talking about it.
August 2nd.
August 2nd? Okay, so there's a good amount of time.
Yeah.
So there's
and how I found that out. How I found that out is just a subject of much musings. I literally typed into Google, "How long is the New World closed beta?" So just so you know,
it is somewhere on their website, but I can't find it. So
it is, but Google literally just answered it for me.
So aside from this, before we start covering the patch notes, I want to talk about something that happened on Reddit. I made a comment.
I mean, you're gonna have to clarify that.
So I made a comment on a thread that bases around this
meme.
So as you guys are aware, we read every comment live, and we keep up with our chat. We do see all the people saying hi. We see anybody who follows, subs, whatever. Like, fundamentally speaking, I didn't understand how this could be a thing, because like, you gotta moderate your chat, so like, would know if your stream was live, right? So I put out,
I mean, I would expect so.
For those that don't know, like, we have obviously, like, this is not our first time doing this, but we put out a thing,
and
we focus in on like a lot of what the industry experts say. We're not great at this. Like, I don't want to say, I don't ever want to come across like we're some sort of authority on on Twitch streaming. If anything, and this is the unedited comment here, people should really watch videos from people like Harris Heller, who follow his guides on how to grow a stream. That's all I said.
Yeah. The other thing is, like, when it comes to who streamed more between me and Ace, like, I mean, I'm sorry, Ace, but like, I definitely have streamed a hell of a lot longer and a lot more
with TIS
than you.
And
but the thing is,
all of the other shows, 100%.
But the thing is, like, you know, if I was to do the stream, I'm not going to gain much from doing the stream. Nowhere near as much as A's would. So that's why A's is doing the streaming for the shows.
So
I help him out, clearly.
now, this is the responses that I got. And I got a lot of DMs about this, and I got a lot of crap about this. Because, you know, people apparently view growing on Twitch as luck. You know, oh
Or
my
some
god,
kind of
you
voodoo.
know, like, you know, it's some sort of like I hit some magical number of streaming to no one for hours and hours and years. And suddenly my stream is just going to take off for no reason. I have no control over it. That's just how it is. That's not how Twitch works. Fundamentally speaking. Like, and if you're out there and you're waiting for somebody to raid your channel, and you're hoping for that, you know, that lucky break day, almost no one has that happen. You need to build your channel, you need to build your community, you need to build the quality of your content, you need to make the content something that somebody actually wants to come see. And I clarified this, you know, and I, you know, went in and basically, you know, diatribed my way and basically, you know, poked fun at myself, poked fun at several other things, and, you know, all through basically said, you know, hey, this is about consistent effort. You've got to market things. You've got to build your community on and off Twitch. You know, there's a reason we have a Discord. There's a reason we have a YouTube that, frankly, we need to put some effort into. Like, you build that community, and then people can come over. You know.
Yeah, the other thing is,
Yeah.
and you know, I think a lot of people kind of, you know, fall back on this, like, oh, but people get raided all the time, so it happens, it must happen. Well, the thing is, people don't just randomly raid random channels, right? This isn't how it works. Like, if you're looking after your audience, you don't throw it to somebody who could be, you know, could have like extremist views, could be an asshole, you know, could be completely dull or boring or something like that. Like, you know, you look after your audience. You look, because you've cared for and nurtured that audience like for, you know, months after months after months. So what happens is, you know, the way that raids work between streamers is streamers network between each other. They talk to each other. Like, you know, you have, it's kind of like it's kind of like talking to your peers, right? You know, you converse, you talk to yourselves, you kind of, you know, you make the effort to go to other streamers and into their chats, and like, you know, just you converse with them and build a relationship. And once you've got that relationship, and the people, you know, who are streaming, who were, you know, streaming when you're not streaming, you know, and they see you've started a stream, you know, they know you're a safe pair of hands for their audience. That's how the raids happen. It's not
Now,
random. It's never random.
to clarify, and I appreciate the comment in chat here. I wouldn't say people just don't do that. 99% of large streams will not raid a zero viewer stream. Like, fundamentally speaking, if that's the break that you're looking for, that's unfortunate. And the statistics around raids, especially large raids, are that the vast majority of the people that even hit the follow button when they raid, unfortunately, never return to that stream again.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that is the case.
it's and if that's the thing, don't wait for that to be your moment. And basically what I'm saying is you should be doing other things. You should be building up your content. You should be, like, anybody who's watched this show and goes back to the first show and this show, they are dramatically different shows in terms of quality, in terms of audio quality, in terms of video quality, in terms of the presentation on air, the setup on air, the overall feel. We now have intro videos with music and slide transitions, stingers, I guess is what they're called. Like, you know, there's a whole lot of work that went into the background of this. And, you know, that kind of thing has to be built up over a lot of time. Like, It doesn't just build out of nowhere. And one of the things I'd like
Oh.
to note is that we also were made aware by Twitch through one of their streaming achievements that we officially hit 250 hours streamed. That means this channel in the last year and a half has streamed 250 hours. And if you would like to know what we made off of that in terms of money, it is less than $1 per hour of live time. And I can tell you with certainty, somebody who's had to reinstall Windows on his streaming computer many times, that there is a substantial amount of offline effort in terms of developing the visuals for shows. Fundamentally speaking, we are well over 300, well over probably even close to 400 hours worth of effort into this show. And on top of that, there's the community side of things that I haven't even counted into that number. Interacting with people in the community is vital to growing your site. Now, I'm going to hop off my soapbox when it comes to Twitch streaming and all of that, because, as said, I'm streaming to 17 people. Great. I really appreciate every single one of you that is here. Fundamentally speaking, I do not expect for a massive break to happen. I do not plan for the stream to grow in some colossal way. What I do hope happens, and I really do hope happens, is that we continue to grow as we have grown over the course of the last year and a half. And with that, I would also like to state another really sad and kind of comical Twitch stat, that people who stream to more than 3 people per, when their average is more than 3 when they stream, you are in the 1% of Twitch. So
I can't wrap my head around that, because that means that 99% of people stream to 2 people or less, on average, averaged.
80% of Twitch streams to no one.
Jesus.
80% of Twitch streams to no one. I fundamentally don't understand how that's possible. And they will do that for years. And then you'll get people like this who go around on Reddit and complain that you need to admit that it's luck. You need to admit that it's just luck. I'm not lucky. I am not gifted with a fantastic body. Are you kidding? If I stood up, you guys would be like, yeah, that guy's 300 pounds. I'm not gifted with a phenomenal personality. The reason you guys come and follow me me and McLeod, is that we're real. We legitimately care about the content. We've got, a fair amount of stuff, of knowledge into what we're talking about. And we've been here forever. That's that. Also, trust me, I am not the person you want to see in a hot tub. Let's be real.
We're unlikely to do hot tub streams.
Yeah. I feel like if that happened, we would pull in an audience that we really don't want. Again, I wanted to take a moment because I thought this was comical. I got a number of messages on Reddit asking me after this happened, and a number of people disparaging me for trying to spread the gospel of effort equals success. And I just wanted to make sure that the stream knew that, and I had the opportunity to basically be like, oh hey, by the way, sure, my stream is laughably small and anecdotal, but at least I'm not streaming to no one. Shots fired at random dude on the internet.
That's shots fired, but you won some internet points, but I'm not sure how valid they are.
All right, so...
but but yeah, like I think you need to come away from this as kind of saying that, like, Twitch is not a platform for just random discovery. Like, the
Yeah.
discoverability of a random channel is like not really a thing that Twitch does well. That's why you need to back it up with other things.
We actually just
Anyway,
started going over the patch notes. We were transitioning off of talking about Twitch, so you didn't miss anything yet. Um, like here's the thing. I think I'm gonna introduce, like, as the stream starts up and everybody's kind of piling in. I think I'm gonna introduce topics like this just because, like, they're fun. Um,
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
not
why
like,
not?
again, like some self-defacing here. Like, simply put, McLeod and I are not special. We're just two dudes that enjoy gaming and have played a shitload of New World.
And
Like,
apparently our doppelgangers.
and apparently you're doppelgangers, despite the fact that we live very, very far apart from each other. You know,
There's a not insignificant amount of water between me and him.
yeah, yeah. There is a rather large ocean in between us. Um, so fundamentally, yeah, that's the thing. So, okay, segueing into our main topic for the evening. We got part one a couple of weeks ago, and that was a relatively big set of news. There was a lot of changes,
There was a
and now we got
significant
part two.
set of changes. Yeah.
And I would expect that we're going to get. I don't think that we're going to get a third patch this month. I think we're getting a second one. Like, context clues gave it away that we were going to get a second one this month because they went June Alpha update one, part one, like, with the first one. So it was like, okay, yeah, they're probably going to do 2 releases in the month.
I mean, there's typically part one and part two. Like, unless unless the person who's like structuring this is like an American football fan, then you got four coming to you. But like,
Yeah,
typically it's two.
absolutely. So fundamentally, here's the big stuff. Added new types of missions. Um,
Well,
I'm trying not to like scroll down far enough that people like see
yeah.
the absolute big stuff, because
What was that?
like this is actually small fries compared to the big stuff.
Yeah.
They added 2 new types of PvE faction missions: Assassinate and Elite. Assassinate missions challenge players to take out specific high threat foes. So effectively speaking, they're going to have you go take on some gold mob off in the distance, and they are recommending that you bring a friend.
I
For
mean,
the elite missions.
that's
The
probably a
assassinate
strong
missions are
recommendation.
probably silvers, but they're still going to be substantially more difficult. They're also going to pay out more because they're more difficult. They polish territory quests with updates to the tracker, reduce the weight cost for Azov travel by 20%. Okay, making it easier to move around the map. Invasion rewards are now directly tied to a player's scoreboard score. If you suck, you're probably not getting anything great.
Now, I don't think we got to the point where we were actually doing invasions. But I'm not entirely certain what contributions pay, like, in invasions kind of thing, like, because there's a lot of stuff that you do in invasions. Like, let's be real here.
Yes.
There's a lot of things that you do in invasions, rather, like, more so than just killing NPCs.
I
So
don't know what all actually gets you points in invasions, but I'm pretty sure, like, everything from heals to killing NPCs. And I believe killing NPCs is the main thing that gets you points.
I'm more kind of thinking in terms of, like, like securing, like, say, doors and stuff like that, like that sort of thing. That kind of thing.
So, now for the actual big stuff. War declaration updates. Okay.
Yeah, this is a huge thing.
Yeah, this is massive. So, back in the preview, they stated, the system effectively was that any random company, once a territory was put into the status for contested, could be part of the random drawing for being the vanguard people that effectively ran the war, and if the war was successful, also won the territory. So this meant that a random small team of people that did nothing to help whatsoever could potentially have stolen the vanguard seat, and through no participation in destabilizing the territory, and end up with the territory because their faction carried them to.
And I think they also, I think the other thing is they also get to be able to pick who's on the like the roster for the actual fight, and that is a very, very powerful position to be in, especially when you're talking about like either the defense or the attack of an important area.
Now, one could understand that there is a little bit of coding involved in changing a system from every company in a faction can now declare war and be randomly chosen to having to identify to this new system here. Updated to reward the most active companies in the influence race with a higher chance of being selected as a vanguard. It means they have to track that. This means they have to keep numbers on all of those things for all of the different companies. All companies in a faction are no longer eligible to declare war when a territory is thrown into a conflict state. To be eligible, a company must have contributed at least 10% of the total influence required to throw a territory into conflict. In an unlikely event that no company contributes over 10%, any company will be eligible to declare war. So basically, if you have 30 companies and they all do equal percentages, none of them hit 10%, everybody can declare war equally. If more than one company declares war on the same territory during conflict, the amount of influence a company contributed towards the conflict increases its chance to be selected as the vanguard. This, fundamentally speaking, is a player idea realized, and it took a while to code because they did not have this system in the preview. They were not working on this system. They came out of the preview and went, you know what? Hey, yeah, this is probably a thing we should fix. And now, boom, they've got a full-fledged system that looks a lot like what the players have been asking for, if not exactly what the players have been asking for.
I mean, it is pretty much exactly what they were asking for.
Exactly. Thank you for the follow. So from here, PvP updates. For the people that continually dredge on this and they're like, oh, they're doing nothing to support PvP, like, please sit. Like, you're gonna need to sit for this. In a continued effort to support PvP, we've reduced gear durability loss due to PvP death, increased XP for PvP kills, and adjusted camp respawn mechanics to make faction control point battles more interesting. All of that was requested by players. Every last bit of that. PvP is important. It needs to be controlled. It shouldn't have major consequences in terms of, like, it shouldn't cost you a small fortune. And if you're leveling up, it should probably give you XP for killing people, and it should give you a good amount of it. That said, to an extent, and it shouldn't be something that should be gameable. Otherwise, it will be
there's a few bits in here that I actually really like, in actual fact.
So, to clarify, the faction control point, the forts, what it's actually referring to is the between wars. You can now capture the forts, and they'll give different bonuses. One of the challenges to that is that you used to just be able to place a camp nearby and just continually respawn, and harass it until you eventually won. The way the camp respawn works now changes this. Let's go through the rest of this. Players flagged for PvP receive 50% less durability damage to equipment. So that's pretty.
That is really good, because like the it's one of those things
when
where
killed by another player.
yeah, no, that's a good
Don't
point.
just flag up and be like, oh, I'm gonna go do my PvE thing and it'll take less damage. You got to get killed by a player. Although that's also kind of gameable, in a way.
Because when it comes down to it, like, because when it comes down to it, and you're using like high-end gear, like it, if you take a lot of durability damage on that, like that does actually start to actually ramp up in cost quite significantly. So having that durability reduction is great, because it means that you get more you get more action for that amount of money that you have to eventually drop, which is great.
So increase the XP players receive PvP kills, and added rewards for players that have been alive longer. Killing a player that has been alive for longer than an hour will now reward 4 times what the max used to be. Meaning, if you kill the same dude over and over and over and over again, you're not getting a lot of XP for it. But if you kill him once every hour and 1 minute, you're gonna get more XP. So this means just camping somebody in isn't going to be the way to go. I really like the way they said. When flagged for PvP,
I like it, but I like it, but I feel like there should be another system in there that if you constantly die, it should add a, if you're dying, like if your deaths are sort of like below a certain threshold each time, then you should actually reduce the amount of XP that you actually get, that people get. Because I kind of feel like, because if you're looking at people gaming a system, right, they'll look at this and go, okay, so you get 4 times the amount if you go an hour and 1 minute, but I can probably kill somebody 20 or 30 times before that hour is up. I might as well just go do that and then get the XP from it. But if doing that 20 or 30 times means that, like, say for example, if you die, if your period between your last death and the current death is like 5 minutes or less than 5 minutes, the person who killed you gets less XP, then it means that they can't game that. And then you get this, then you have this kind of like this nice little kind of these two kind of mechanics that are preventing people from gaming the system. Absolutely. At least heavily anyway.
So the other part of this is it's going to be difficult to get back to the same area. So when flagged for PvP, choosing to respawn at a camp activates an incrementally increasing respawn cooldown. So this means you're not going to be able to respawn at your camp instantly. You're gonna have to go respawn at a town or wherever you're in.
Yeah, a settlement or someplace. Yeah, something other than your camp.
So this means that effectively you're gonna have to win fights, and if you don't, you may be able to respawn once or twice in a somewhat reasonable time frame, maybe, but eventually it's going to be, if you want to play, you're going to need off it from another, which is a hike from the different forts. So that's an important thing.
I did want to point. I did want to put a little, point something out a little bit to some degree. There has been games, and I think Crucible actually kind of had an issue with this to some degree with their gameplay. Something that sort of didn't really work out too well for them. but they had in Crucible they had an incremental spawn timer that kind of could go up to like 5 minutes, I believe. That was very much of a negative when it came to people's sort of experience when playing Crucible. The issue is there because when you're playing, you want to you want that time to enjoy. You want to enjoy every single moment of that gameplay. And if the game is basically telling you chill out, step back, walk, go do something else for 5 minutes, that's not engaging, that's not rewarding in any way, shape, or form. And I understand that, like, sucking at PvP shouldn't be rewarding, but like, you should at least be able to do something constructive between that sort of thing. But I do understand when it comes to open world PvP, and especially if you're trying to control an area, infinite respawns, like infinite immediate respawns for your enemies, can be a little bit too much. So you have to temper that between one and the other. And thankfully, they have done this. They have added this additional thing of, if you spawn at a settlement, you can instantly spawn at the settlement. Like, it doesn't, you're not locked out of playing the game for this increasing amount of cooldown, which is great.
Now the other thing is, it low-key gives you a hint that, hey, you might be bad at this, and if you want an out, spawning at a settlement where you can unflag and cool down and try some other stuff. That would be a good route to go. Thanks for the follow. For some reason, are like up in the top left for no reason.
I would just need to change that. It's all right.
So there's that aspect of it. The other thing is it's also not like gameable. They thought about ways people were going to go around this. If a player chooses to respawn elsewhere, for instance at a settlement, the cooldown will continue counting down in the background. So fundamentally speaking, if you go unflag and go PvP for a while, you still have that cooldown. Still a thing.
Yeah.
Not just unflag and it be gone. So I actually appreciate that. If the player dies while flagged for PvP, while the cooldown is counting down, time increment will be added to the current value. So if you died and there was a 15-minute respawn on your camp, and the next one is a 30-minute respawn, and you died like a minute after, now have a 30 plus 14-minute timer. Like, I appreciate it. How long do camps last? Camps will last as long as you are in.
Logged in.
No way to kill them. However,
Well,
you
also,
can take them down and place them in different spots. But fundamentally, it's still the same camp.
I'd also like to say that, like, those were arbitrary values, by the way, that AZ used. Like, we have no idea what the actual cooldowns are, and if the cooldown is like 15 minutes, then 30 minutes, like, holy shit.
Yep.
But just a thing.
So, their last comment on this. This makes respawning at a settlement and running back into the fray a great way for players to lower their camp cooldown. So, fundamentally, if you respawn, like, oh hey, I've got a long cooldown, respawning back at the settlement and hoofing it back to the fort is going to be your route to go. So, the other massive shoe to drop. In the prior patch, they raised the XP required to level after level 7 by 40%. This was widely regarded as a massive change to the leveling progression. I would love to go into the details of why this happened, Because what
It was
and
also it was
what they
also
stated in the dev blog was that people were progressing way too rapidly, and missing content along the way.
Yeah. It was
I
also
can't
stated
say
a little
that.
bit by it was also somewhat stated by naysayers as well, that like, oh yeah, this is clearly the moment where, like, you know, they're increasing the grind for you just so they can sell you the you know, the quick kind of fix, right? um you know, if they were doing that, then they wouldn't have just suddenly, you know, reduced the XP required to level by 20%, would they?
Yes. I want to go back and cover something from chat here. Wait, so if you get ganked repeatedly, you get punished on the respawn? In a system that you can literally go back and unflag and then go do any content barring PvP, I wouldn't necessarily call getting ganked unexpected feature of open
Open
content.
world. Yeah.
Uh,
And also, you
if
know,
you're flagged up,
specifically,
you're good for any number of people coming after you. And one of the fundamental things of MMOs is that if you were a solo player, and I mean this in the nicest of ways, if you were a solo player and you get upset that you got killed by 5 guys who are working together as a team, that's not how the game works. Like, being a solo player, you are at a disadvantage to 5 guys turning around and going, I want to kill this guy. If you are flagged and they are flagged, you to run. And then
unless you're extremely confident about your abilities.
yes. That said,
But
if
typically
you're
that
in a
doesn't
group
go
of
well.
5, you also are fair game for a group of 50 to come in and wreck your day. So just putting it out there, it's an MMO. Be prepared to get randomly and savagely beaten by large groups of people. Like,
and the other thing as well that you need to remember about open world PvP is it's not kind of there's not that arbitrary restriction, you know, compared to the sort of like the was it the territory wars, right? It's not arbitrarily restricted to 50 on 50. Like, you're not going to get a fair fight in like, it's very rare that you're going to get a fair fight in open world PvP. And you know, the old adage kind of you know, applies here. If you're in a fair fight, then you know, you've done fucked up.
yep. And this is the same. This is the same in any open world PvP game. EVE Online is a good example of this. You can be 2 dudes camping a gate in EVE Online in Myrmidons. I was the guy in the Myrmidon once, and be dropped on by 73 Black Ops battleships to kill 2 T1 battle cruisers that were gate camping admittedly very poorly. Like, not the right ship to be gate camping in. But
You were in open world PvP,
yeah.
and you got what was coming to you. Basically,
Yes.
that's what happened there.
So there are no real hard limits in terms of how many people can be in one area in the open world. So there could be the entire server flagged up, all in the Great Cleave, murdering the crap out of each other. That could happen. It would be hysterical, it would be awesome, it would be epic, and we'd probably set a server on fire. But it could happen.
However, the situation, and I'm not saying the situation could never occur, because, like, you know, never say never, right? But like, there could be the instance where you have, you know, a whole army of new people on the server, like, you know, months after after the servers have gone live, you know, whole like, you know, say a small player, a small, you know, a player organizer, sort of group or something like that, like, yeah, a gaming group or something, decides, oh, we're going to play, you know, New World. Let's all, you know, go onto a specific server on New World. They all jump in at the same time. They're all kind of like doing their stuff at the same time. You know, there could be that instance where you have that one dude in like in like tier 5 gear you know,
Who could take on
roaming
five
around.
dudes?
You could take on like 5, 10, 15 level 5s, right? And you know, murder the living crap out of them. You know, there is that situation that could occur, right? You know, so never say never.
So, falling back to progression updates. So
Hmm.
last update, they tuned up the XP required by 40% to level. Widely considered, hey, what are you doing? That's a lot of XP. Like, you know, that's gonna make this so long to level. There was a reason for that. I can't talk about it, but there was a reason for that. They discuss it in the dev blog that basically says people were leveling too quickly.
Basically, leapfrogging
All I
content.
can say is, trust me, I don't disagree. Like, that's all I can say on that. Reduce the XP. So in this patch, they reduced the XP required to level by 20% for all levels after level 7. Increased the increase in the previous update combined with the changes to corrupted breaches, which may or may not have been the problem. There's a reason they called them out specifically here. Reduced the speed of leveling too much. This change would be a nice middle ground between what we felt was fast in May and the overly tuned changes introduced in the June 1 update. This is the whole process of testing and getting feedback. Fundamentally, that's a good idea. Doubled the amount of XP from repeatable expedition quests. So if you're going to go do expeditions, you know, and potentially get these quests to go do expeditions from various quest givers, they want them to be a rewarding experience. They want them to be something that is desirable, that is worth doing.
And a repeatable experience as well.
And repeatable. They're doubled the amount of XP from them. That is substantial. From there, town projects have been fixed, improved, and adjusted in a variety of ways. Tune the rewards granted for completing missions. The rewards will now accurately reflect the level of effort required by different missions. In other words,
really
if you
glad
have to go 3 kilometers that way, and then you've got to go 3 kilometers that way,
it's probably going to net you more
XP, get more
XP
gold. Like,
than just going and murdering, you know, a couple of wolves.
So the other one, and this was prevalent in the preview as well. Reduce the amount of required materials to complete town project missions when the items are rare or valuable. There's nothing worse than getting a town board quest, turn in 25 star metal, that you're sitting there going, I'm gonna get 18 gold for 25 star metal and a little bit of XP.
Yeah. I remember those, and I remember just literally going, fuck off.
Yeah, next. Wait for that one to respawn.
Accept, cancel.
Yeah. So that's that. I'm happy to see that they have fixed that. So it's probably going to be much less. A larger selection of missions are now available for the town upkeep project to bring it in line with other projects. So fundamentally speaking, there's a lot more options for like what it could roll, and you're going to be able to do more stuff. The baseline like town upkeep quest. There will always be three options at any place unless like there's construction. So like how the town board works is there's the fort project, there's the lifestyle project, and like building a crafting station, and then there's the town upkeep. Those 3 for the town upkeep will always be there. So like there won't be no quest at a town. That said, if they're upgrading stuff, you could potentially have 3, 3, 3, and 3, 12 quests that you pick from and select all of them, and then turn around and go do them in the world. Massive loop, get a bunch of XP, get a bunch of gold. Go. That's a thing. I'm not breaking any news here on that either. That was in the preview.
I just I kind of want to really quickly, because before we move on to this, I want to really quickly uh, respond to Five's kind of comment in this, basically regarding the doubling the amount of XP and repeatable expedition quests. Essentially, the comment is essentially, if will that put expeditions out of balance with everything else in the in terms of XP, with the and people may end up just flocking to expeditions and just doing expedition, in which case, everything else kind of suffers. I mean, there is always a possibility of that, but I think there is such a wealth of things that will give you decent XP, especially the things that we covered initially right at the start with the assassination and elite kind of missions. That'll give you significant XP as well. Probably a lot more in actual fact than the expeditions. That'll kind of bring that kind of stuff in.
And the other part of this is that if people are neglecting going and collecting specific resources out in the world, the market value will eventually make it so that somebody goes and does it. Eventually it'll just be too valuable to pass up. Aside from that, there are other quests and other missions out there that are of varying quality and quantity that are worth doing, as well as
there's also
expeditions, and there are expedition-specific loot as well. So there's an incentive to do them, but there's also an incentive that that people will do the rest of the open world stuff, and collect stuff. For instance, like nuts. People are going to collect nuts just because they see them on the hill. Like, I do it all the time.
I do,
literally.
Yeah.
You're always going to want to
Very
have
much
to
worthwhile.
increase your. You're going to want. Everybody wants to increase their gathering skills. They want to increase their all of their different trade skills and stuff like that. So there's always going to be an incentive to do stuff like that. In some of the expeditions,
in terms of
there is also stuff that you can gather in there that is also available in the world.
there's also as well, with regards to gathering and refining and stuff like that. Like, there's also some other aspects further down in the patch notes that kind of influence this as well, that we'll get to as well.
There is a pseudo soft limit on how many times you can run an expedition, because I believe they said you can only craft so many of the orbs, something like that at one point. The reality is, you can find groups that are doing it all the time and join them. So, limit on how many you craft doesn't really how many times actually.
Yep.
If they choose to keep that crafting limit, I don't know that they have it still. But I can tell you that there is not really a concern enough. So,
moving on.
The other thing that I would like to note, because there's someone in chat who specializes, is that it is entirely possible for you to level up all the way to level 60 without ever doing any combat. Completely passive. Is entirely possible. So, and there will be people that do that. And I'm excited to see how that turns out. But let's keep going.
Hopefully there's an achievement for that.
Yes.
Or a group of achievements for that. Anyway.
Ask the developers to give us a stealth option. Right now, the stealth option is if you're laying down in the grass, your name tag doesn't show up until people are almost on top of you. That's your stealth option. Mostly for PvP. And you can be sneaky going around NPCs, because they do actually have line of sight vision. Turn A's up. I'm kind of quiet. Alright. Easier said than done. Because I'm actually on max.
This is where things break.
Gotta add a game. boost it by 3.
Boosted by 6.
Close enough. Okay, that should be substantially. Let me know if it's still too low. Setting open. So from here, they reduce the XP bonus granted from leveling up territory stand. Just gonna say
always
that's
something
for a good reason, and I yes, I agree with that.
That's always been something that I thought was worthwhile doing, because it was kind of like a change that kind of, well, not a change, but there was always a bonus that I thought was always beneficial to do as early as you can.
This next one's comical. Adjusted the amount of territory standing gained from crafting, as some crafted items would generate disproportionately large amounts of standing. I would qualify this more as a bug fix than a balance, because I know exactly what they're talking about, and yes, this needed a fix. Because there was no way that they intended to have that happen.
Maybe I think maybe the wording should have been changed a little bit to that, from that to adjusted the spread of XP from crafting.
More in line
because
with other
I think
items
it's just like,
and reality.
Yeah, kind of,
and to not give you multiple territory standing levels on crafting one item.
That would help.
You know, I'm not saying that was a thing. I'm just saying, like, you read through the lines on the patch notes here, you can see that it could have been a thing. Quests that award specific items should now award items aligned with the intended level of the quest. That's yes. I would argue that's also a bug fix. Balance path. Increase trade skill XP for crafting jewelry items. Decrease trade skill XP for crafting jewelry components. I.e., building the final necklace, or ring, or amulet. It's going to yield you more than building the chains, hooks, and loops for those items.
Makes sense.
Making the final item should
it literally just makes sense.
XP than building the components. Like, that makes sense. Trade skill XP for cutting gems has been increased. Adjusted harvesting XP to fall more in line with the weaving progression. About time.
It's one of those things. So it's one of those things that all of the different progressions kind of thing. Like, you kind of want the progressions to kind of work in terms of like the leveling kind of thing to kind of work, to work well in regard to how long it takes for you to get to the point where you want to make sort of like higher tier items, like more advanced items, right? But if you're in that situation where, like, oh crap, I need more XP in order to get to do certain things, and all you're doing is you're literally going out and you're just harvesting certain things just for the XP, rather than like because you want to create certain things, and like, then that's an example of something being a little bit out of whack. So I'm glad that they're kind of like, they're working and looking at that.
So the last one, adjusting weaving and leatherworking trade skill XP curves to better align with the amount of gathering necessary to achieve similar levels of the respective gathering skills.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was talking about.
And I 100% agree, because there's nothing more frustrating than sitting there going, I need to up my leatherworking by another 150 levels, but I already have my skinning level at like that's a frustrating experience because great, I'm spending a lot of time doing something I've already mastered, finish something that I'm nowhere near done with, despite utilizing all for that thing. So, continuing on, loot and gear. We continued to add more visual diversity to in-game weapons and armor sets. There are some comical ones, by the way. Faction-heavy Tier 5 armor sets have new, unique visuals with a different look for each faction. So in the preview, people complained that there were basically the same outfit, all 3 faction stores for the heavies, and it was like, well, but there's no real distinction. Like, I wanna look different. I wanna rep my faction.
I did think that was necessary. I was expecting it to be kind of like something different, because then you kind of you get a better feel of, like, you know, that you're playing a different faction than, like, you know, than just playing a different color of the same shit.
This is another really good distinction here. Lost enemies have been split into lost and drowned types to differentiate the gear that drops from it. A new set of gear visuals have been applied to armor and weapons dropped by drowned enemies. So one could probably assume that includes items covered in coral, maybe possibly washed out. They're generally pretty good. They'll make it work. The Breach Ice Gauntlet has a new visual. Not gonna touch that one. My noise gate is cutting things off early. Okay. Okay, so this should fix it. I appreciate the commentary. Like, it's actually quite useful. You know, it is how we improve. So, fire staffs and tower shields for lost, ancient, and corrupted Emily family.
Emily?
I don't know where I got Emily from, but sorry. Enemy family.
Freudian slip going on there, mate.
Yeah, I don't even know an Emily. Like,
I'm gonna have to talk to Emily.
We're gonna have discussions with Emily. Now have new color schemes that match the corresponding enemy family color set. So, i.e., corrupted, you can assume that there's probably going to be some red on there.
Yay.
From there, lost heavy medium armor drops have a new look at tiers 3 and 4. So you'll be able to distinguish between low and high level gear. Updated the visuals on outpost rush weapons. Awesome.
Nice.
Added weapons for dynasty enemies in the open world. Okay.
Well, they're gonna be interesting looking stuff.
Yes, they've got some interesting
So
weapons,
cool.
and I'm really hoping they bring a lot of those weapons to the players eventually, because they've got some really cool weapons. Updated the visuals to the Dynasty Shipyard Expedition weapons. Thank you. I'm hoping that those take on a Eastern influence.
Is there some potential images in the slideshow underneath that? Maybe, like, I don't know. Maybe we'll see it. Anyway,
that's
also
a cool hammer. This is probably lost, I would imagine. This bow, and this is probably lost, judging from the red straps, tied around it. Like, that seems to be their MO. This is probably ancient.
There are some next and previous.
I believe it's actually only two here, but
okay.
I think all four. I think all of these are new outfits.
Anyway, the next kind of bit there was about a beekeeper.
Added some new armor sets with interesting visuals to the global open world drops. For example, a 17th century beekeeper's outfit.
Now,
So, for the record, I saw this in the files in the preview and was like, why is there a file for beekeeper? Like, what?
now, I may be,
Somebody's gonna
you know,
roleplay that
being,
one. Like,
yeah, maybe. I'm just thinking. I don't know whether I'm being a little bit prejudiced, but like, as far as I can tell, like beekeeping, I wouldn't consider a beekeeper's outfit to be armor. But then again, you know, I guess if you're trying to armor yourself against bees, I guess a beekeeper outfit is exactly the kind of armor that you want, right?
yeah, you know, hey, it could count as light armor, you know. Like just say it, like, you know, I guarantee somebody is going to like gonna metagame this and just run through towns screaming that they're being attacked by bees. Like, that would just make my day.
Just
Like,
just with the Nicolas Cage bees, like, you know, as a you know, as a sound clip just running through. Yeah, that'd be great.
yeah, there's probably gonna be an entire guild that's just people in beekeeper outfits. Like, that I could see that. Coon Swarm only wears beekeeper outfits. Oh
Jesus.
god. Yes. So okay. They also
Another
updated the
reason why we
visuals for the
can't
tier
have
5.
nice things.
Updated visuals for the tier 5 weapons dropped by the Elite Angry Earth and Elite Ancient enemies. Um, so that's awesome. Good God, we're not even like, here's the thing. So like, anybody who gives Amazon crap for, like, you know, oh, they don't do a whole lot. Like, no, screw you guys. Like, we're an hour and 20 minutes into this, and like, we're halfway through the patch notes here. Sure, we covered other topics at first, but like, we didn't spend that long on them.
But we are having a little bit of fun with this.
Yeah. Improved expedition drops by increasing the chances that expedition armor and weapons will drop with one or more perk than they did previously. I.e., you're going to get a larger percent chance of dropping, you know,
Something appropriate.
rare or epic gear than you are getting, you know, a uncommon Amarin expedition hatchet. Or something like that.
You're more likely to get something worthwhile, like as a drop in the expedition, than, you know, in comparison to, like, say, killing a wolf randomly in the open world and it like spitting out a sword or something like that. Like, you know, it's not going to be like, oh, I could have gotten that sword by just, you know, going and killing a bunch of, you know, random beasts. Like, you're actually going to get something somewhat, you know, worthwhile for doing an expedition, or at least.
Yes. So let's see. From here, clothing with trade skill related perks can be now found at elite points of interest in endgame areas. I'm just gonna caveat that with okay.
And probably the higher bonus one, maybe.
Yeah.
I would imagine.
Increase special drops from expedition and elite points of interest. We want to ensure that players feel rewarded for defeating some of the most dangerous enemies in a tournament. So, fundamentally, kill more powerful stuff, get better equipment. Like, that's the recipe for like every game in existence. So I appreciate that they're sticking with the status quo on that, because like, it works.
They just have to make sure that they don't, like, when they're doing those sorts of changes, that they don't crowd out the capacity for traders, not traders, for crafters to make you know, potentially the best items.
Yes,
that's the thing.
Yes,
because you don't want to nullify that, like that trade, that skill trade.
Expedition bosses will drop a wider variety of higher quantity. A wider variety and higher quantity of loot when defeated. Uh, okay, so unfortunately, that's something the IGN guys probably won't ever experience, but, good for everyone else, though. I had to poke fun at them because they okay, so for the people that weren't here, they were invited to the Amarin Expedition event for creators, and they weren't able to beat the first boss. Meanwhile, people who watched us,
wait.
we were told that the expedition was too easy.
I mean,
just putting it out there.
Hey, see, cut them some slack, man. Like, they don't have 3,000 hours playing this game.
Yeah, but like,
come on, come on.
I feel like at some point in time, IGN really needs to like employ gamers as journalists, because like I'm sure that like someone out there might have experience doing both, writing stuff for news media and playing video games.
Hey, it's like it's easier, as we've seen from Hollywood, it's easier to train drillers to be astronauts than astronauts to be drillers, okay?
What was Michael Bay's response to Ben Affleck when he brought that up?
Just shut the fuck up. I believe that was verbatim what he said.
Because like, I mean, let's think about it. Is it really more difficult to teach an astronaut how to drill for oil, or is it more difficult to teach an oil driller to be an astronaut?
How hard can it be?
Oh God!
Point the drill at the ground, turn it on.
Anyway. Okay, so increase the drop rate for some named enemies in the open world. Okay, great. Armageddon was a flawless film, and I'll hear nothing of it. It really was a great film. I love that film. But like, there's some logical fallacies in that film.
You have to suspend a lot of disbelief with that film, but it's fantastic. As a form of entertainment.
Also, like, as like, I'm gonna talk about people in my field for a moment and movies in my field. Emergency management as a field in movies is not what you think it is. I guarantee it. If you see movies like Volcano and stuff like that, that's not how emergency management works. Like, if they're the guy in the field doing anything, like,
why do I have a feeling that like you've mentioned Greenland, the film, like a few times.
I love that movie.
I think the reason why, and I kind of feel, because I remember rewatching it like a little while ago, and I think I know the reason why, and it's because FEMA is actually mentioned in that film.
Somebody talked to somebody who works for us. I guarantee it. Somebody talked to somebody, because they hit what we do spot freaking on. Like, so good. If you haven't seen it, Greenland is a movie about a massive asteroid that's about to hit the world. And it's a Gerard Butler film. It's on HBO now. Totally worth the watch. It's a bit dark, but alas, it's an end of the world movie. There's apparently a sequel in the works. I'm all for that one. All right.
We jumped into like pop culture there for a minute.
I'd imagine emergency management is a bunch of middle-aged guys in collared shirts sitting in big computer rooms, staring at monitors while going, "Oh my God." You're not wrong.
Like, oh shit, he knows.
Yeah, like, you're not wrong.
Just call the office.
Yeah.
They know. Quick.
It really is. It really is a cool field to be in. But, yeah, it really is a cool field to be in. You get to make a lot of really cool decisions and stuff like that. But like, you're not the first responder. You're there to ensure that the federal assets are being utilized correctly and organized. If you're deployed to the field, and then from there you're there to help with the money aspect of recovery. like being totally honest, if you see me in the field doing any kind of manual labor, we're so far up shit creek it ain't funny. Cause yeah. Are you one of the 8 people at any given moment monitoring the sun for possible EMP waves? No, but I would get an email from them. Alas, we're go back to patch notes. Patch notes, yes.
Yeah, let's go to patch notes now. I think we segued enough.
If people want to talk after the stream, we're going to be in Discord after the show, and I'll be more than happy to talk to you guys about emergency management as a career field and some of the fun stuff that I've done, because like it really is a cool field to be in. It does not require near the experience that people think it does, and there are some really cool ways in for people who are fresh out of high school and fresh out of college. If they're looking for ways in, I'll be more than happy to have have that conversation. Is there a FEMA on a global level? The UN does have an Office of Emergency Management, but it would not necessarily be considered comprehensive. Or nope, not going to say it. Let's see. From there. At least one gear drop from an expedition boss will guarantee a gear score increase, provided the boss is powerful enough to grant on the first place.
Think it on the first place.
Yeah, typo. Not the only typo we've identified in here, but that is definitely a typo.
Yeah,
that's a big one. So fundamentally speaking, like if you go through the expedition and you are level 25 and you don't have fully maxed gear for what you can wear at level 25, it will give you an increase in gear score. That said, if the monster's level is lower than your level, it can only go so high. So it is not going to give you a tier 4 item for killing an enemy that would at most give you a tier 3 weapon. That's what they're talking about there. Crafted and dropped armor can now roll skill perks. Super.
Nice.
This is some massive econ changes. Massive econ changes. Players can now salvage gear they receive as drops into gold and repair parts. So this will be a way of going out into the world and getting additional gold by killing stuff and picking up their loot and salvaging it. This will provide a great new source of income for players and ensure all drops have a base value. This also means that there is a benefit to not throwing absolutely everything on the freaking market, which is important. Resources gained from salvaging items, from salvaging item drops have been removed. This means if you have a whole bunch of stuff, like for instance, salvaging, a whole bunch of T2 swords that you picked up in an expedition, or just random gear that you picked up in an expedition, it's not going to give you the steel anymore. That is a massive change.
It is a massive change. Like so there's kind of like, well, definite positives for sure for crafters and gatherers for sure, because like especially when it comes to sort of higher level sort of stuff. You're not just getting all of your materials, all your higher level materials from just people like like salvaging their shit, right? You actually have to go out and grab it and do your thing. Right?
This also means if you're going out and running level 65 portals consistently and you're salvaging the gear from that, you're not getting a whole bunch of orichalcum for free. That is an important distinction, and very important in terms of making sure that resource gathering remains a thing and stays important as well as valuable to the economy. I really like that change. However, one of the things I would like to point out on this is that this is only from item drops. So,
yeah,
caveating that, if you are somebody who is, trying to level up your crafting, it does appear from the way that this is stated that you will be able to salvage that stuff that you created that isn't an item drop that you actually built in a forge. You'll be able to salvage that for material return,
which is really, really important.
Yes. So
like
that means
I know
that it's not
from
like
crafting,
high level stuff just entering the thing without going through the process of being created.
Yeah, I know from crafting myself, like not crafting my literal self, but like from crafting things in game myself, like you end up with a lot of like stuff that you don't want because you're kind of like you're trying to roll that good piece of gear with the right kind of stats and the right kind of things. So yeah, if you couldn't actually get like material back from that, like that changes that would be a fundamental change to how you would go about like determining what even what you made, like, to be completely honest, when you're crafting to increase your skill. The other kind of thing is, and this is kind of a negative, which I'm kind of like I don't want to foreshadow it kind of thing, but I know that like it could be potentially a thing because this sort of thing does tend to sort of shroud something that could potentially have been an issue but without people realizing. But like reducing or removing this kind of the drops from from gear, or sorry, the sort of the craftable materials from dropped gear. If that was plugging a hole in the available resources required for people to craft higher level stuff, that hole, whether it's small or whether it's a gaping chasm, is going to be very apparent if that's the case. But I think that is an important thing to do, because if there is an issue regarding that should be have the opportunity to be seen and solved, rather than just being an underlying issue that doesn't get seen until, like, say, release.
Yes.
So having them do this is, even if it causes fundamental issue initially, is an important thing to do, because then they know that there's an issue there that's underlying that they need to solve regarding the availability of say higher level stuff.
Yes.
For gatherers.
All right. So 100% agreed. Crafted trinkets now salvage into a lower tier version of lower tier raw version of the gem used to craft them, to better fit a change that enables any tier of trinket to be used in any components. We go in an hour and a half, and reading is apparently not my specialty. Crafted trinkets now salvage into lower tier raw versions, into a lower tier, raw version of the gem used to craft them. To better fit a change, okay, it's not just me. This is not like a sentence.
It's not a
loosely connected set of thoughts. Better fit a change that enables any tier of trinkets to use any tier of components to craft it.
So I think the idea is, like, you can make like a silver or gold, platinum, or all sorts of things, different types of like trinkets, right? But like the gems that you use inside of it determines the perks that get added to it. So the idea is that, like, you can make a platinum trinket that has like the worst gem available, and like it'll make it, but it'll give you a terrible perk, right? But you can still take that and then salvage it. Mm-hmm. And the idea is that when you salvage it, it'll give you back a gem that's not of equal value of the gem that you put in there, but a lower one. So
that makes sense.
You don't want to be doing it all the time just to roll for the right perk that you want, or roll for a particular additional perk.
So, in an effort to tune the gold economy, we've made some changes to the faction shops. To clarify, family coatings are things like, a coating that you put on your weapon to deal additional damage to Lost, or additional damage to Ancient, or additional damage to. That's not been an overly common use of that. So it's been an item that's been in the faction shop. However, they want you to actually craft it.
I thought that was a typo, and that should have said weapon coatings.
I think it's like because they're family specific.
Yeah,
like it makes sense, but like at the same time, like they're just weapon coatings. Like, yeah.
That makes sense.
Hardly anybody ever actually uses them. Although, like, when you get to the high-end PvE, it's actually important because 5% or 10% on your weapon damage is actually substantial.
I think if they lasted longer, people would use them more. But like, I think because I think it only lasts like sort of a certain number of hits.
Yeah.
I think it's quite low at the moment. Like I think they need to bump that. Those hits are like those hits are sort of those levels are like rookie levels. They need to bump those levels up.
So they added a special set of items to the faction shop that enable players to change the attributes on their faction equipment to a selection of different allocations. Interesting. There's not a lot of detail there, but I appreciate the thought behind it. And I'm realizing why they're not giving the detail, because it's basically stat rerolling, and it's really difficult to explain that in the patch notes, because that's, again, something that's, like, kind of highly detailed, and you really need to experience in person to understand it.
Not really something that, like, you would have experienced in the preview event, so, you couldn't exactly... We can't go into it, but yeah, like, that makes sense.
Yep. Prices of all faction shop items have been adjusted to align with updated currency rates. 100% agree. Let's just
especially with the change to gold, especially with the change to salvaging stuff for gold.
Yep. If gold generation is going to be more, there's a little bit of a balance from like prior patches and stuff like that. So like, I'll be interested to see where that actually lines up. But we'll find out. Updated epic armor quest by adding the ability to upgrade several pieces of special armor granted as quest rewards in a mid to late game. The requirements for earning sets in existing quests are spread out across 15 levels. At the end of each quest, players now granted the means to upgrade the lower level armor pieces to the power level of the final piece of the set, i.e., in the late game, there are quests, and they've talked about this in the patch notes, so I'm not breaking any ground here, that you go through and you build out a set of armor over the course of that. As you do that, this creates a situation where over the course of potentially 15 levels, you could have a tier 4 or tier 5 piece of equipment that could need to be upgraded to be equal to something that is at the end of that chain of stuff. So it makes total sense to me. I appreciate that. And actually makes those sets worth using.
It's a cool new... I mean, is that a new mechanic though? Like, because you're basically upgrading a bunch of armor, right? Which is something that I don't think we've ever seen.
I think that's new. Yeah. Yeah. Tuned high water mark. Players' ability to earn items above their current gear score. Outcome rates, and introduced a floor, so items from powerful level 60 plus enemies don't drop a gear scores far below their player level, or their power level. Okay. Yes.
That's just helping to that's just helping to solidify the fact that, like, you know, you've gone and, like, you know, defeated
Yeah.
this dude, and he's not going to drop something ultra shitty for you.
Yeah, he's not going to drop a T2
Your
sword. Like, you know, makes sense.
A common sword.
Yeah.
A common sword. that
T2 common
actually-
sword drop off of 60. It's like you get it and you're like, was he using this? Like, did somebody drop this nearby? Oh. The Tribal Loyalty Charm, an early game quest reward, now provides increased constitution instead of strength, so it is more universally applicable to its recipients while they are learning how attributes work and which playstyles they enjoy. I.e., if
Totally
you're not
agree.
using strength, it's still useful to you because now
Yeah,
it's
like-
using constitution and everybody can use constitution.
It's like, oh yeah, I was using a bow. This is really helpful. Like, you know, and now it actually is.
We have so much more of these patch notes to go. If anybody ever gives Amazon crap for, like, you don't give us enough detail, I'm gonna be like, who are you watching? Like, what rock are you
Ace.
under?
Ace, can you imagine if we were like a cyberpunk kind of channel doing sort of like, you know, going through cyberpunk sort of changes, and that day zero patch where they just had like a billion different things?
Yeah. All right, so crafting and gathering. Fishing, updated piranhas, dragonfish, speartooth sharks, and stingrays to salvage into fish guts, with a chance to also grant an extra unique item for each fish, which can be used in alchemy.
I mean, that's
Super.
fantastic. Like, that's just basically unfucking a bunch of, you know, fish that you could catch to actually be useful, which is good.
And giving a variety, so like if you catch a piranha, you get a special chance at the item that fish specifically drops. So
Yeah,
like,
not just a piece
catching
of
certain
fish.
things is actually going to be important. I appreciate that. Added the ability to combine lower tier gems into higher tier gems at the stone cutting station. That's not how science works, but okay.
This is the gem version of We Form Voltron. That's basically what that is.
Yes. I don't disagree with this being a thing because I think that it's a valuable change. The science, we can't do that now. So
Hey,
good. Keep it. I don't care that it is not in touch with reality, but yeah.
With the science that we have now, Ace, teleport over there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Azoth fixes all.
Sprinkling of Azoth here and there. I mean, if
Players
they added
can now
like a
use
tiny
any
like
tier of solvent when refining gems as well. That's a good one. So you don't.
I was gonna say something. Like a little bit controversial. If the combining lower tier gems to higher tier gems, to use one Azoth when you're doing so, just as the sprinkling of the the magic ingredient to make that happen.
Yeah.
But I don't think people would like that.
So okay, tuned repair kit crafting costs. Tier 2, 3, 4, and 5 now require 55, 100, 175, and 350 repair parts to better align with the rate that we see players acquiring parts in the alpha. T2 was increased from 40, T3 stayed the same, T4 was lowered from 200, and T5 was lowered from 400.
I literally can't remember even using it. I think I looked at it like I think I looked at it at one point on the preview. Maybe, I'm not sure. I remember looking at it and kind of going like, it's not really worth it. So if they're tuning it to make it worth it, fantastic. If it's not there yet, then they need more. Like, I don't know.
So here's why repair kits are important. Repair kits enable you to repair items without paying gold. So you're basically paying a massive amount more repair parts. However, you are getting no gold taken out of your wallet. So There's a good
I
reason
would
for this.
I would say even reducing this might like not really do it, considering the increase in gold that people are going to get from like salvaging stuff.
Yeah,
May just
they're
mean that,
increasing
like,
the
they're just
reason to
anyway.
salvage stuff, which you're gonna have a lot more parts, which also might finally make repair kits take off as a thing. So that'll be useful. Tier 2, 3, 4, and 5 now require 1, 2, 3, and 3 individual crafting mods, down from significantly higher amounts over tiers.
Yeah, I think that's very
Agreed.
much
I think it's
worthwhile.
funny that they give the hard statistics of the prior one, and then they're like, fucking close enough. Like, it's just higher numbers, we're lowering it. Just go with it. I appreciate that. Reduce the wood requirement to make charcoal from 3 to 2. Thank God. Also, that means that's probably if they haven't balanced the XP off of that, that also means that that's likely one of the fastest ways to up your smelting now. Just putting that out there. Increase the raw resource refining cost of Tier 4 and Tier 5 refined resources by 50% and 100%. Respectively. For instance, star metal ingots now require raw 6 raw star metal instead of 4, and orichalcum ingots now require 8 raw orichalcum instead of 4. Okay, so they're making Tier 5 stuff actually valuable. That's what this patch is, like, fundamentally speaking. Increase the resource cost of crafting epic crafting materials, Asmodium, by 1. 1 second. I need to check something.
There's from what I've seen, like I don't think I've seen any of the patches that they've reduced the amount of crafting mods that you need to create like steel at the moment, because I think for every other every other refined component or every other refined material of that kind of level, of the sort of like tier 3 level, like it only requires like 1 of that crafting mod, and steel requires 2. Like I still want to have that like changed so it's in line with everything else, but yeah, I've yet to see it happen. I hope it does happen, like, because I kind of feel like that needs to happen.
Yes, I had to check something. Sorry about
Okay.
that. So let's see here. I
was just pitching a change to the audience. That's all. Like
okay.
that I'd like to see that isn't in the patch notes.
Awesome. Slightly increase the drop rates and quantities of gemstones found in standard ore veins, i.e. iron and star metal. I feel like there's multiple standard ore veins between iron and star metal, but okay. Like silver, gold, platinum, steel. Although steel's not a
steel. Yeah, I was about to say, dude.
not a thing.
It's not
Don't mind me. We've been going for an hour and 50 minutes. Like, the brain gets a little fuzzy towards the end of these. Not gonna lie. And what's comical is there is a shitload more to read here. Like, remove the need to craft mods on the first tier of crafting trophies. Okay. These have been replaced with elemental essences. Awesome. Normalize the rarity of all crafting mods to uncommon. Okay. I don't think that actually changes much. Honing stones can now be crafted in bulk. Thank God. Milk has a chance of being found in any provisioning container in the world, with a higher likelihood to be found in Windsward, Reekwater, and Brightwood. Although I don't know that I would be picking up milk out of a crate and drinking it anytime soon. That's just me, but, then again, on Eternum, how many times has that cow died? Just putting that out there.
It's eternal milk, dude. Like,
So yeah, it's not milk at that point. That's cheese. Like, uh, yeah.
I want
Removed
my fucking
food
parmesan.
granting trade skill bonuses from large provisioning containers. These containers will continue to drop finished meals of the health and mana recovery variety. We believe this change will place a greater emphasis on either crafting these meal items yourselves or purchasing them from other players who have crafted them. Good change. Quintessences are now epic variety. I feel like that
I
should have
did
been the
wonder.
case to begin with.
Yeah, I think they kind of realized they're fucked up on that one.
Titles and achievements. For those that don't know, they added titles into the game, so your character has the option, depending on things that it does in game, to acquire a number of different titles in which will show up on your name placard. We have been working with the alpha community to refine and update the title system ahead of launch. Many players provided feedback to say that there were too many titles, and because of that, displaying a hard-earned title doesn't feel special. Some titles have been removed, and most will be earned by completing higher-level achievements. If you see someone with a title, you'll know that they worked hard to unlock it. The title change UI now has a pronoun selector. Before anybody jumps on the social justice bandwagon here, there's a good reason for this. Part of it is RP, part of it is, just respecting people, part of it is just like it
Just
looks
workload.
weird if, it
If you
could
have
look
to
potentially
constantly
weird.
yeah, it's just workload. Like if you have to constantly change like and add like qualifiers, so like all various different types of you know like various different sort of aspects of, say for example, interacting with an NPC, right? It's just gonna get it adds more workload than it's worth having. So yeah, just remove it.
Yes. So I actually agree with this. You can decide if your character's titles should use the
Oh,
he,
sorry,
him,
my bad.
she, her,
Wrong one.
they, them pronoun when the text of the title allows it. It is what it is. I don't think that should alert anybody or trigger any kind of alarm or any kind of issue. Like, it's a game. It should be inclusive. It should for all of the good reasons here and for all of the like just logic based reasons, this is just a good thing to have. Move titles down
Sorry, I
on
got
the
the wrong end.
overhead
I got the
nameplate.
wrong end of the stick on that one. I got the wrong end of the stick on that one. Sorry, my bad.
That's all right. Move titles down on the overhead nameplate to display in the same line as the character's current company, if they have one. Players can now disable achievement notifications. Thank you.
Oh, nice.
Those can be potentially very annoying. Yes. They've also added Steam achievements. Awesome. Completing some in-game achievements will also grant Steam achievements. Super. That's exactly what we would like to see.
Not gonna lie, sometimes Steam achievements actually give you Steam like items as well. Like, I don't know whether that's gonna occur, but that might be a thing. You never know.
Absolutely. UI UX. The intro cinematic just before character creation has been updated with new dialogue that better sets up the Captain Thorpe story. Here we go. The main menu now includes more streamlined flow when a player enters without an existing character, leading them right to world select. That makes total sense. You haven't made a character yet. Why would we give you a whole bunch of other options? Because you need to pick where you're going, pick your character, build your character, and then all of the other options make sense. There is now a basic settings flow on initial character creation, which allows users to choose common settings and adjust their screen brightness. Great, 100%. Now we'll actually know who Thorpe is besides some guy we walk up to and look at in the bar. Actually, it's not Thorpe, but that's a different thing. But yeah, he's just some dude you walk up to on the beach that you like were on the boat with at one point, and he just dies on the beach. And like, because like this intro was not unknown, so like, this was in the preview. You both drown basically, and you wash up on the beach. Thorpe like croaks right in front of you, and then like 15 minutes later you're fighting like the uber god version of Thorpe. Like, clearly this
For
guy's
some
got a
reason.
background and some knowledge he ain't telling you about beforehand.
So hopefully we're going to get a little
Yeah.
bit more sort of like backstory into him before we actually get to that point.
Yeah, maybe some detail on what this guy's connection with the island is before he came here with you. Yeah. There is now a basic settings flow brightness. UI team focused on a polish this release, fixing 259 bugs. 259
Nice.
bugs. That's impressive. Typing a direct message no longer generates a typing bubble. That's awesome. Chat now has a setting to display a dark background between each message, making them easier to read. 100%. That's like a general accessibility. Like, people should be able to read what they're getting in text. Group health bars now indicate disconnected status when applicable. Great. So you'll be able to identify that you're in a dungeon and some dude just disconnected. Yes.
It does kind of help because like if suddenly like you're disconnecting from something, and you probably don't like, if you're having like local network issues, like you probably can't say, oh, I've been disconnected from the game, by the way, guys, on Discord or whatever you're using to talk to people, right? If they turn around, they're like, oh, fuck's sake, Dave's like, frozen again. Like, is he gone AFK? Like, did he have to go and fucking go to the door and pick up a delivery? Did the like fucking dog jump on his back or something like that? Like, did he fall off his chair? Like, I'm not sure whether he's fallen off his chair. Like, we'll now know, like, oh, whether he's done that, whether those sorts of things have occurred, or whether like he actually got disconnected from the game for some reason. So yeah, it's worth watching.
Yes.
Or addition.
Yes. So, in the prior notes, I'd like to note that they added increased rewards, increased XP, increased a whole bunch of things about expeditions. They also increased the damage of all expedition creatures by 10 to 20% to provide a greater challenge to players. So now it's hard but rewarding.
Be interesting, yeah.
And IGN will never be able to complete it.
Look, we've
also,
worked at it.
this
We
is going
finally
to make
got there.
Having a healer really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be a big one. Combat. Updated Constitution to have diminishing returns on the amount of HP granted per level, the more points you put into it. Previously, it started at 15 HP per attribute point and would gradually increase as you would put more points into it, to a cap of 34. That would be points per attribute. Now it starts at 25 HP granted and decreases gradually until you get to 21 HP per attribute. This decreases the total HP gained from Constitution slightly from 12,175 to 11,325. This is going to make tanking a little bit more difficult, which is fine to the people who like just shit bricks over that. But increase the amount of HP players get from Constitution at a lower level, i.e. taking a few points or taking 50 points into Constitution is going to be of substantial value. That said,
so what this means is the curve is going to be a little bit more like of a hump at the start and then level off more, like, as you're going through. But what this also means is like you're gonna feel the effects of adding to Constitution a lot, much more at a lower level, and at higher level, it's gonna mean that it doesn't the HP that you have is going to be more dependent on is going to be more dependent on I think anyway. You can tell me if I'm talking bullshit here, Ace, but like it's going to be a little bit more dependent on the gear that you have rather than the HP that you put into or
Yes.
the amount of attributes you put into Constitution.
Yes.
Right.
Yep. Having the right gear for the situation with the right bonuses with the right damage resistances is going to be very important. So, moving along. Updated targeted healing. Pressing control while heal is active will now automatically perform a self-heal. That's awesome. Players no longer have to hold control before casting the spell. Super.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Alright, so we got Balance Pass. Some people were upset by some of the lack of certain changes, but I can't tell you which ones. That said, there is some decent stuff for this. Great Axe executability now allows more rotation during startup. Great. Bow just got slapped with the Nerf hammer. Musket slapped with the Nerf hammer. I'm not going to go into specifics because there's a lot here for one, and two, there's these are going to be super specific, and if you want this, here it is.
How they shake out is a little bit difficult to figure out.
Yeah, we can tell you what we might think of certain changes, but at the same time, I'm not overly concerned about any of the changes made. I think Life Staff got a massive buff as well here, by the way. Ice Gauntlet, combination of changes as well as buffs and nerfs to different things, which is fine.
Yeah, I think it's just for the lesser used stuff.
And a small nerf to Fire Staff, and that's that. And then as we talked about, this last little comment here was actually changed. And we mentioned this at the beginning of the show. This sentence here was changed. We're hard at work preparing for the July 20 closed beta, followed by our August 31st launch. This originally read, followed by open beta and our August 31st launch. This was rapidly taken down and corrected on Twitter, and we don't believe at this time that there is going to be an open beta, although McLeod and I have also stated that we firmly believe that they totally should, because that would build a crap load of hype if they did it. So, hopefully. That said, I also have managed to dig up a certain clip from a very well-known Twitch user and I'm curious, and this will be the first time I've seen this, which is always a dangerous thing, but seeing as they're a major YouTuber, I'm not overly worried.
Have you unmuted desktop audio? Because you asked me to.
Yes, because they can hear you.
Excellent. Okay.
Yes. So, Shroud has commented on New World very recently. So, let's find out what Shroud has to say. I don't know what the level is going to be on this, so I apologize if I blow up people's eardrums.
New World will be good. I think it'll be good for certain folk. It's not going to be the best MMO ever made, but I think certain individuals are going to like it, and it's going to be a love game or a hate game. I don't know if I don't know if there's going to be an in between. You know, I'm looking forward to playing it, but
but I can still hear that.
I have no expectations, I guess.
Okay, so that was
fair enough.
That was fair. Okay, Some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, and people are going to play it, and he's going to play it, which is cool.
I mean, if you look at the general sentiment, yeah, like there's definitely people who love it, definitely people who hate it. So like, yeah, that's a very safe comment to say, and I'm not saying that just as a way of like, casting shade on him. Like, you don't know what to say, and you don't want to be one of those, you don't want to be brought into the, pushed into the conversation like, oh, blah 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 said it's going to be terrible, etc., etc. There's proof, etc., and then you're suddenly pushed into the conversation, either for or against it. So it's a measured and intelligent response to that question for sure. So like, yeah, that makes sense.
Absolutely. So yeah, that'll be good.
But it's the other thing is it's a new MMO. Like you're never gonna, like, especially when it comes to MMOs, because so many people have their own ideas as to what it should be. You're never gonna fulfill everybody's desires to what they want from an MMO, But the other thing is, when you're jumping into the MMO scene, there's MMOs that have been around for fucking ages, like there's decades, right? And they've had decades worth of content to put into their games, and you're not going to be in that situation where you're going to have as much content as they have. So you need to kind of temper your expectations in that regard, but also understand that, like, somebody making a new MMO is likely going to be continuing on to be producing content for that MMO for the foreseeable future, and for hopefully for a lengthy period of time, right? And especially when it comes to New World, right? So yeah, you might not have the level of level and variety of content like say World of Warcraft has, but then World of Warcraft has been putting out content for World of Warcraft, or Blizzard has been putting out content for World of Warcraft for fucking ages. So you're never gonna
comparing a game that has 30 years of development into it to a game that has 6 is just not a reality. Like, any new game, the community is going to burn through the content, and they're going to continually add to it to enhance the experience and build out new systems and stuff like that.
So
a couple of comments from chat here. The New World team doesn't have background of big games. The New World studio doesn't have a background of big games. However, the individual developers actually do have a lot of experience in a lot of different MMOs, as well as first-person shooters and etc.
Now the other thing, just really quickly on that, is the other kind of thing. This is, I'm going to use a sports kind of analogy here, but like, you can fill your team with like superstar players, but superstar players aren't going to, like, just filling a team with superstar players isn't going to give you, the isn't going to give you the sum of the parts, right?
Yes.
They have to be able to work together and be able to understand and work well together, right? In the same manner, Amazon Games does have a lot of very, very talented people, right? That doesn't mean that they're instantly going to craft and create amazing games. We've seen Crucible kind of fall into obscurity and then get basically removed. That is an indication that just filling a development house with talent doesn't produce an amazing game. They will still have the pitfalls that every development house has to go through. It's just the way of things.
Well, and especially when it comes to
hopefully
first round development, they're going to make mistakes, and they have made mistakes. They've like, if you look at the course of the development, I made a cheeky comment about only 3 alphas, because there's been a number more than that. But like, the game since its inception, originally speaking, the game was taking place on the east coast of the USA, in settler colonial times.
Yeah, like they've refactored a bunch of things, but like the other thing is, they've also had titles that they've hopefully, and I genuinely believe that they have, that they have learned from these previous titles, and and are producing New World in a way and in a means that will probably mean that it's not going to be a failure. I mean, I can't predict the future, but I have a good feeling for New World. I feel that Amazon Games have learned from the titles that they had to drop. Breakaway being one, which is very rarely talked about. Crucible, obviously, which I mentioned before, and also the Grand Tour game as well, right? Like they've all learned. I'm pretty certain that they have learned a lot of lessons from those three titles. And so New World is the fourth title that they're doing in-house. Obviously, Last Ark, they're publishers of that, and they're helping with bringing it to Western audiences. But I think they have learned, have paid their dues and learned from Breakaway and from Crucible and from the Grand Tour game on doing various different aspects of gaming. So, as all game development studios have to do. Like you go back to some very, very notable game studios, they've all had failures. The thing is, you don't remember those failures because they're failures. Like you remember
some of them more
the
recently
games that
than
have made
others.
it.
EA released
exactly.
Battlefield 5, and it, despite the fact it made money, but at the same time, it's widely considered one of the worst Battlefield games.
Yeah.
Like,
but you remember the franchise Battlefield, not from the failures, but from the instances where it was an amazing franchise, right?
And Battlefield 4 is actually taking off to the point where they had to add server capacity. Battlefield 5, the World War II recent one, not the 21 or 2042 that they're making. Hopefully that one's going to be more like Battlefield 4.
That thing looks amazing.
Yeah.
Open play is amazing.
I love 2142. I absolutely love that game. I played that game competitively. Like, full on, like, I played Commander back in those days, and back in those days, like, if you had squads that were working together, all of the squad points trickled up to the squad leader and the commander. So if you had squads that were actually doing stuff together, commanders made just a shitload of points.
So
they removed
Commander
and turned it into a tablet game and ruined the whole thing. Then they removed it outright.
That's where the commander part of your name comes from, right?
It could be part of it. Another small note is my equivalent rank in the military, if converted, would be roughly a Navy commander.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Just putting that out there.
Not bad.
Not bad. Weird, odd brag. It's not
a humble brag.
So with that,
anyway. Yeah.
Anyways, with that, we don't have anything else. That's the whole show. We are going to be in the Discord after the show. If you would like to join us in the Discord and chat about any number of topics, we are more than happy to chat with you guys. I want to thank our Patreons. I want to thank everybody who has been using our Amazon affiliate link to buy stuff via Prime Day. You guys are all awesome. Everybody who's been just watching the show, following the show, anybody who's here now, who watches the show after the fact, the whole works. You guys are the reason we do this. God knows it's not for the money, but at the same time, the money definitely helps incentivize us to keep doing it. It does help build out new equipment and stuff like that. I'd love to say that we have broken even with our expenses in terms of the
I just
several
fucked that up.
$100 headsets and computers
I did fuck that
cameras
up, though.
and all that. McLeod here just bought a new $1,000 PC, so you know, like
I don't expect us to sort of like cover that. By the way, that's not that shouldn't be covered by the channel's expenses. Just saying. So.
One thing to note is that there is currently a deal, and I want to highlight this just because it was talked about it on prior days, and I want to highlight this deal because it is a thing. There is a current deal on Amazon Prime Day for the Corsair Virtuoso.
And that's the one that you use.
That is my daily driver headset. I wear this thing for 12 hours a day. This is a Corsair gunmetal special edition. Like, this is actual metal. This is not plastic. Like, it is actually good. Like, I would recommend it to people. I use it all day, every day. Would totally recommend it. I am not in any way sponsored by Corsair. However, what I can tell you is that there's currently a 13% off deal on it. There's the link.
And this is,
it is an affiliate link. It supports us if you want to buy it, or if you buy anything else within the next 72 hours on Amazon, we also get supported by just following that affiliate link. Costs nothing extra to you. That said,
this is coming from is coming from somebody as well who tried the Arcturus Pros and was like, nah, this isn't cutting the mustard. So
yeah. I owned the new SteelSeries Arctis line, and I returned it. Amazon didn't want me to return it. They were like, we normally don't take this back, and I'm like, I don't care. I don't want it. Like, I don't want it, and I won't use it.
It's not cutting the mustard. It's not cutting the mustard for you. So like, yeah.
It is not often that I refer people to buy a several $100 headset. But I firmly believe that this is a quality product that will actually make your experience better while gaming. They've actually thought things through. It's comfortable. It's great. The only reason that I do not wear this headset while streaming is that this is a studio-grade microphone with a whole bunch of other equipment attached to it, like amps and stuff to convert the signal from XLR to USB.
Amazing.
Yeah,
exactly.
So, like, fundamentally speaking, that's the only reason that I don't do that. And this was actually because I was in an apartment that didn't have a sound conducive environment for any other type of microphone. So that's why I wear this specifically and not use my Corsair one. Not saying that it's got a bad microphone, but there's an obvious difference between like a couple $100 microphone and a several $100 microphone that is specific. Like, you buy this headset, this is an Audio-Technica headset, you buy this headset for the microphone. The sound is an afterthought. It's not bad, but it's not like game breaking.
It's literally used by like sports commentators and like esports commentators and that kind of stuff. Like that's the grade.
Yep. And the reason that this headset is different is that this is a highly directional microphone. Like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but like, it's actually pointed at my mouth and will not pick up most things that happen outside of the cone that it is looking for. So there's a reason that it's used for studios and stuff like that, so it prevents you from hearing stuff that's happening out and around and prevents echoes and stuff like that. So that said,
so you probably won't hear the SWAT that like smashes his door down. Like that's what he's trying to say.
Yes. Also, there would be a lot of questions if SWAT came here. But with that, again, thank you to everybody. We always appreciate these streams. We always appreciate everybody coming out. And I'm infinitely and will always be, for the people who have been here from the start of the stream and heard me rant about the process of growing a stream, I'm infinitely thankful for being in the 1% of Twitch and not streaming to nobody. Like, it's really a great feeling to be able to stream to, at one point in time the stream was at 28 people. So I really appreciate that. That really is a great experience, and I'm pretty humbled by the opportunity. So, with that, we will see you in the new world.
See ya.